Very high on my list of must-haves for the Atari ST is UIS III, Universal Item Selector. This file selector can be set up not only to access from the main desktop, but also it replaces a dialog box in any app that needs access to the file system. Now I've got a link in the video's description of where you can get this file selector from, but here we're going to talk about how to install it on your system. Okay, if we look over here in the file directories, I'm going to move off from my D drive to my C drive and go look here. Now ignore some of this other stuff I have for other software, but we're going to install the UIS III program in the auto directory. But we're going to install a second snippet, a little small program, into the accessories, and it goes into your root folder. That unless you have the loaded into the accessories directory. But this calls the UIS from the desktop. So that's all it takes to get it loaded and running so that you can access it. And so let's go into all the features and the configuration. So I'm going to access it from the desktop here by going over here to the desk menu, and there's the calling program. And the first thing we're going to do is look up here where the words for the item selector is at. These are all the defaults, and you can change these parameters to do different things. We'll go into those a little bit. But every time you do that, you have to go down to the bottom and click on the Save Defaults. Now the part at the top is sort of self-explanatory with the name, date, and all that, but we're going to change the width here first. And we're also going to change the font size. And if I exit, you'll see what happens. Immediately resizes, uses a wide format with smaller fonts. Now this view gives you the name of the programs, it gives you a long list, but we're going to go back and change it to an intermediate size. If you notice, if we take 12 wide here as the size, and we click on it, and we go down here to exit, you'll see here we get a very nice display with the name, the size, the date, and time. Now in the medium desktop resolution, I have some room here, so I'm going to change back to a large font size, and I'm going to say exit, and it fills very nicely that it fills the screen, easily seeing what the all the information I need to see. And lastly, if we go back here, the print control really has to do with your printer, which we'll talk a little bit later about that in detail. But don't forget to click on the Save Defaults at the bottom before you exit. Otherwise, you lose all your changes. Now, I'm not going to cover it too much here, but to navigate the file system is just like you would in any other program. I'm in the auto directory now. If I click on this X here, I go up a level. I click on an item, and I go down a level. And if on the right, if I click on the A, B, or C, I jump to that drive and do the same thing. So it's really just the same as what you would normally have. Now, copy, move, and rename would be just what you might think if you just simply go to your file system here, and you would highlight the file that you want to copy. For example, if I want to copy the new desk program, the new desk info file, I just come over here and click on what I want to do. I click on copy. You notice destination is now highlighted. So now I can actually copy it to somewhere else. I can move to a different directory, do whatever I want to copy the same name file over there. So you just click on that. Now if I want to change the name in the middle of doing this with a different name, I would simply navigate to wherever I want and then just finish the operation there. But you know, I'm going to go back to show you another thing is if I click here, again, I'm going to the C drive destination, and if I'm going to go ahead and say OK, it's going to give me a name conflict because it's right there. What's really nice is right in the middle, I can just click here on the conflict name, go there and change it, maybe make it to another INF file, new desk 2, and I'm good to go, and I say OK. And if we go back here for a second to take a look at what options there were, we can skip individual files or even ignore current conflicts, which will overwrite the file. Okay, a new folder, as simple as it is in Windows. You just go to the top where it says folder, and you click on it, and you just put in your folder name here. And I'll go ahead and make one called, I'll try UIS test. We'll just do a test folder here. And then when I'm ready, all I have to do is click on the OK button, and boom, wherever you were at, it created the folder. If we click on it, you see we have an empty folder there. just what we asked for. Very simple. Now, if you want to delete or copy or move the folder, it's very simple. You just simply click on the folder. You can either drag it to the button over here on the right, like delete, or you can just have it highlighted, then click on the appropriate button. For example, though, if I click on delete, there it is. It tells me exactly how many folders and how many files, and it says OK. Boom. Just one more thing I want to cover here. Let's say you wanted to move this folder to a different drive. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and click on a new folder and recreate this folder. But unlike Windows, this only has a single window. You can't have multiple windows and drag things between, so you have to work within. So in that case, we would click on here. We would either copy or move it or whatever. But we're going to go ahead and we want to move it to a different place. And in this case, once we have it showing us it's ready to go to the destination again, we would simply go over to the right-hand side and click on a different drive and then select where we want. We're already in the place where we want. We just click on OK. Boom, it'll copy it over here. And if we scroll down here, we should see the UIS III test directory copied there. Now, you may have noticed up here there's these little file extensions with an asterisk and then some file extensions listed up top. Now, what they do is they provide you a very easy way to filter by an extension. If you just click on one, you'll see that your results show just the PRG files in that directory, or ACC, just the ACC files. Same with INF. And if you've used Universal Item Selector before, you may not realize that you can change these very easily. You just go to a file that you want to use, the type of extension that you want. So let's go down here and let's grab on an ST. That's an unusual one. Let's grab that and put it up here and drag it over there, and that changes to ST. And by the way, even if you close Item Selector and open it back up again, you'll see that your changes are immediately saved, and that particular file extension is now up there. And by the way, if you don't have a file handy you can drag, you can just go up here to the selection box and hit a period and type in an extension, for example, TXT. And once you've done that, you can just click and hold on it and drag it up to one of those boxes and right over here, and boom, it becomes the same extension. What you do have to remember, though, is that once you've made these changes, you need to go back up here to the top and say Save Defaults, so that next time you open it up, you'll have those saved. Now, another feature of the UIS III is that you can now go up here and click on this first entry right here, right-click on it, and then press the left mouse at the same time, and you'll see all these different extensions you can just choose from. And you just click on them, and boom, you'll be filtered by that extension. So what happens when those extensions aren't the ones you want? Well, again, you can right-click on it and look at your list of extensions, and you'll notice here I have two texts in there. So I'm going to change one of them. Now to do that, all I have to do is go back to the main desktop. So click on anything, and I'm going to type a period in here, and then I'm going to type in any extension that I want to add. Now I'll just make one up, SML. Okay, and then once I have it, I'm just going to click and hold on it and drag it to the first one. It'll bring up the box again, and you go to whichever one you want to replace, like the TXT here, and we're good. So if we click on it here, you'll see it's now been changed to SML. And after you've made all those changes, don't forget to click on the title up top to save your changes. Now, UIS III has a couple other hidden functions. For example, if you click on this bottom bar anywhere, and you'll get the memory you have. I have 3 megabytes of 3.755 megabytes of memory available. Now, UIS III has the ability to store quick jumps. So if you have a directory you go to a lot and you want to just be able to jump to it, it's very simple. Like, for example, if I go to my downloads directory here, I click on directory here, and I right-click on the number there and then hold it, and then left-click, it'll add it to that directory listing. So if we go back, you'll see it listed there as a quick jump. And by the way, these correspond to your F1 through F10 keys, so you can jump to them just using your keys. Or as long as you're here, you can just use your mouse to click on one, and you'll jump to that particular directory. Believe it or not, you can drag, just like you do in Windows 10. You go off to the edge here. You can use click and hold to drag and multi-select things just like Windows 10. And depending upon what you want to do, a file or a directory, if you want to move them, whatever, you can do that to all those. And if you hold the Shift key down, you can click, if you hold the Shift key down and click on a file or a directory, you can have a very selective process where you can choose which ones you want to do. And again, in Windows, you can combine the moves. You can select a bunch of these guys together. You can select a bunch of these guys together, then hold your Shift key down to deselect certain ones. Now, if you don't like that wide UIS III, you want to do the narrow version, but you still want information about your files. If you notice down here where it says name, there's arrows, and as you scroll to the right, you can get to your other columns. There's the time, there's the date. Now, there's no size on folders, of course, but when you get down to files, there is. But you can just scroll down here and get the information you need. To demonstrate files, let's go down here to files, and there you'll see that there's the name and the size and the date and the time. And you can scroll, or you click again, and you'll just go back to the beginning. It's sort of a continuous scrolling. Now, the ST came with, well, it didn't come with necessarily, but you had floppy drives, normally A and B drives, and you would access them through a normal file manager system. And right now, I have one disk in the A drive. So we could go ahead and select it here. But what we want to look at is how to format it. In the original operating system, you could scroll down to your format, your floppy disk. You come down here and you say which one. You say A or B, single-sided, double-sided, and it'll give you a progress bar. Well, we're going to go do that instead through the Universal Item Selector. Now, as you can see, if we click on the format, you have a lot more options. You have A and B drive. You can do a single-sided or a double-sided. Sectors per track. The number of tracks, which is the infamous 82-sector format is there, and the twister format, and disk labeling, of course. Okay, let's go ahead and format one just to see how it operates. And to do that, let me go ahead and get out of here. Click on Exit down here. And we'll go to, you know what, we're going to go look at the disk itself first, the A disk. And if you look here under the file manager for the emulator I'm running, I had a disk inserted. Now, if you're working off a physical ST, you would, of course, put a physical disk in. Now, this one here is a copy of a disk. Now, if I double-click right here on the A drive, you'll see I have content in there. There's actual files. Now, of course, if I click on the B drive and it has a disk, I'll get the usual error message. So let's go to UIS instead and try to work on our disk from there. We go to UIS, and we come up here and we see where it says format. Here I can select A or B, okay, the number of sides, all that stuff, and even a disk label. So I'm going to go ahead and put in blank 2 as a disk label, and I'm going to say format. Now, if you watch here, you can press undo to cancel. So it'll show you a progress bar to show you what's going on. Now, I cut down the time here for the formatting, but once it's done, we'll see we can just exit out of the thing. It tells you how much it has, and you say OK, and it's the total 80,000. So let's get out, and you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and open up the disk itself. Let me get out of here and double click on this, and you'll see that we used to have data is now nicely formatted. Now, of course, I'd be a little careful. If I'm going to make a blank disk, I would make a copy of the existing one in case you want to save that information, and then format the copy instead. Just do the copy here in your operating system if you're working off an emulator. Now, in a normal ST operating system, you can find out about a program simply by highlighting it and coming over here and say show information, and you'll get the name, the size, and all that stuff. But again, if you're inside of a program, you can't call up the file menu here. Okay, so we're going to do it from UIS. So we simply come up here to UIS, and we do the same thing. We click on the item. And again, you just drag it up here, and you'll see the information, the size, the date, the name, all that stuff. It's attributes, and all those things. And what if it's a folder? Well, if it's a folder, you simply click and hold on the folder, and click and hold on the folder. You drag it up there, and it'll tell you how many subdirectories it has, how many items it has, total number of bytes. But what if you need a size of a group of files, or a group of folders for that matter? You get that information there, but maybe you only need part of that. Well, it's like in this list here, I use that other things we talked about, clicking and holding on it, or dragging it to loop them, and you simply drag them up there, and then it'll tell you, it's exactly how much is used for those 3 files or more. As you might have noticed when we clicked on a file earlier, you had some file attributes. And if we go up here and we say, okay, click down there, now we can actually change them and just see in the info. You can say to read, write, read only, show, all these things. Now be a little careful. Play with this with some sample files first before you accidentally do something you didn't want to do. Now I'm not sure how necessary this is anymore, but you can sit there and get a printout of your file directory, for example, here, right here. And all I have to do is be in the directory and click on this P button down here, and after a few seconds it finishes. Now, what does it do? Well, for the Steam emulator, as I discussed in the original video that showed you how to set it up, this one's set up to write to a file because obviously we don't have any printers attached. So it goes to that file. So go find the file that you have set up in here. And since I have it set up with a TXT extension, it's just a text file, so all I need to view it in Windows is to double click on it, and then it opens up Notepad, and guess what I get? A nice directory listing of the name, the files and folders, and the total number of bytes. Okay, this is more of a configuration rather than a feature. You can have this open up anywhere you want. All you have to do is right click up here, and then while you're holding it down, left click, and then start to drag it to wherever you want. So you can see the outline, boom, it'll be there. Now for the most part, you probably want to put this off to the side. You want to do this and drag it off to the side where it's not right in the middle of your screen, especially on a high resolution screen where you have plenty of room. But then you can see your work underneath. And remember, like any other configuration change, you have to click on the title up here and then click on Save Defaults so it's saved before you exit. That way when it reboots, you'll come back right where you left it. So there you have it, Universal Item Selector 3, one of the most powerful utilities for the Atari ST. Hey, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like this video. If you want more of the same, subscribe to the Atari Geek. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description of this video.